space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And joining us for the season finale, mid-season finale, mid-season. It's the mid-season, not the end of the seasons. Nothing about this episode to imply it was meant to be a season finale. Of Prodigy, Dr. Squee.
We've probably got 6 months until there's any more.
Yeah, but it is in no way a season finale. It is the mid-season finale. Season 1 is 20 episodes long, and this is just the end of the second batch of episodes.
Call it what you will. What a satisfying, little story
Yeah.
that into these.
It's
Six.
awful.
Was it only 6 episodes? Did you just say
10 we've had.
We've had
10?
10.
We've had. I was going to say that seemed like more, but in a glorious way. How good's this been?
Yeah,
Okay.
really good.
It's been
So consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd go with that. It's, you see, we say this every time with a new Trek show, but new Trek, for all the people who hate it and whatnot, you can't deny it has had better season ones generally. Obviously, I'm excluding the original series from this statement, but the season ones are generally better than 90s Trek season ones.
yeah.
It's consistency. The consistency of Prodigy, particularly, I'd actually even single it out amongst New Trek. I think it's one of the most consistent first season and a half seasons, whatever you call them yet, that we've had of Star Trek yet. I'm just going to say it.
To say that they've said that in the future, all the Trek seasons are going to be 10 episodes long.
Do you know what? And I don't mind that.
I'd have been quite happy for them to say this is the end of season 1. In 6 months, we'll have season 2. No problem. Why did he have to say it's mid-season at 10 episodes and 6 months or whatever it is until you get the next 10?
Do you know what? As long as they take their time in between, because again, let's face it, with those longer series of Star Trek, there's always a few episodes where you're going, okay, we got to this one. Like I'm doing a rewatch of DS9, and actually you do get surprised by which ones you think you're going to slog through and they turn out to be better than you remember, and which ones you do slug through, which you thought were better. But there's always the episodes where you're like, oh yeah, I've got to touch the Meridian. Yeah.
No, not Meridian. Well, we did Meridian.
We covered Meridian.
Yeah.
Ago. Not great. But yeah, I think the thing is, we used to have, back in the day, back in the 90s, there were TNG and DS9 running parallel, or DS9 and Voyager running parallel. So we were getting 52 episodes of Star Trek a year, but it was only across 2 shows and pumping out 20 episodes a season, and they largely shared the same writers' rooms and things like that. So I think there was a lot of burnout going on, but the plan for the Paramount Plus Star Trek show seems to be that we're going to have 50 episodes of Star Trek a year, but that's going to be across 4 or 5 different shows with different writers' rooms, different showrunners, different styles. We've got one that's an animated comedy, one that's an animated kids show. We've got live action ones doing different things. And
we've got about 3 timelines running at the moment.
Yeah. And
I want to see them cross.
Oh,
yeah.
Streams.
But hopefully what it'll mean is that the consistency will stay there for the individual shows, which will mean that we'll get great Star Trek all year round, which, yeah.
I'm just saying, before Picard, because they've confirmed it's just 3 seasons as they kind of indicate to begin with.
Well, they said that at the start. Like, people are going absolutely...
That's what I'm saying.
People are going absolutely mental on the internet. Why is it finishing after 3 seasons?
Look,
Because they said when it first started, when it was first announced, it was 3 seasons. What is the surprise?
That's what I'm saying. I said, as they said since they began. You're arguing against what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is...
No, I'm arguing against what the internet's done this last week or so.
I'm praying using the Star Trek prayer symbol. But please, dear God, before it ends, get Picard to do some of the other show. Just get him, throw him a shitload of money to appear in 1 episode of Discovery. Come on.
That would be good.
Time travel malarkey.
Get him into Discovery time travel. I'll keep you on I still hold, because they're saying now that we're getting Section 31 and Starfleet Academy. Section 31's going to be Giorgio and come back in time. Section 31's going to be Tilly. That's a no. They're both no-brainers. What's happening there? When Discovery ends, they've said there's a movie coming out. Do the crossover movie.
Oh man, yeah.
I want to see the movie.
Well, they've said, haven't they? Like the characters for Lower Decks, the animation is to look like the actual actors who play it.
Yeah.
So there is no reason that they couldn't come into a live action.
Yeah, and even do like, yeah, okay, we want the big crossover. We want that where they're all in one place. But even without that, you can even do what they've done on some of the other shows where they've got multiple shows of just having a storyline cross the kind of through them.
Oh yeah.
So you get one baddie or one thing which happens throughout time, maybe led by Q is a pretty easy one to do there.
Yeah, like they used to do with the novels. They did the Invasion novels, and that was the first like novel crossover, and it was all 4 series at the time as Voyager had just come out, and the first one was a TOS novel, and they ran into these aliens, and then the aliens were dormant for another 100 years, and then they came back, and TNG and DS9 and Voyager had to deal with them. So yeah, something like that would be cool. But yeah, big crossover film, room for everyone. We'll have Pike, Picard, Michael Burnham, Mariner, all of them, all the crew of the Prodigy, everyone, all 3 Spider-Mans. And you know what?
Yeah. And on their way through, they stop off at Deep Space Nine. Like, just throw everything at the wall. I don't care. Just have all the Trek in one place.
And you know what? Star Trek will even make room to have Boba Fett in it.
Boba Fett made room to have Boba Fett in it this week.
Oh, well,
yeah, even Boba Fett prefers Mandalorian now.
That's it. So Boba Fett can come to Star Trek. We feel like he's not getting enough love. So he's welcome here.
Okay, but he has to put the suit on. I'm sick and tired of seeing him.
I don't know if you heard of the 3rd series that they're on about bringing out. And it's Akiva Goldsmith wants to go and produce. And it's an anthology.
Oh, yeah.
They'll literally do 1 episode, and he's sort of gone, yeah, we'll have an hour of Sulu. We'll get George Takei back for an episode. We'll have a Captain Archer episode. And we'll just we'll have an hour to sort of look at how the story ended.
Yeah, just pick and choose, pick characters up here and there, and throw some random ones in. Like, get Ashley Judd back as Robin Leffler for an episode and find out. Find out what she's been doing. I mean, also find out what Ashley Judd's been doing. Not seen her in a while.
That's a pull. That's a pull. I think you're the only one in this day and age calling out for a Robin episode.
But Ashley Judd was a massive star at one point. She was in like every thriller in the 90s, and then she just vanished. Bring her back. Let's find out. And again, New Frontier books. Robin Leffler's a big character in them. So, she gets up to all sorts. Bless her. Anyway, Moral Star Part 2. Then the finale, mid-season finale, whatever you want to call it, of Prodigy, and picks up right where we left off, because I think this was all one episode that they've just arbitrarily split in 2. But what do I know?
No, because the whole series has been 20 odd minutes long per episode, and this is nearly 50 minutes in total, so it is 2-parter.
I think
they've made it as one. They've made it as one long episode.
That's what I.
Which is what we talked about with Voyager last week. How Voyager did that.
But the point where they split it is really well done. I don't think it's a natural split, I will say.
See, I didn't think so. I just thought it just seemed to just end.
We thought it should have ended sort of 30 seconds a minute earlier, when they were sort of still screaming going up in the air.
Oh, okay.
And all that was your ideal cut-off point, where it ends where the disaster's been.
I mean, I just want to say that I know you covered the first part last week. I won't go into it too much, but just it's that moment when they changed into uniforms and you get Janeway in the uniform.
Yeah, that was cool.
Oh, so satisfying. Sorry, I just quickly wanted to give a shout out to that. I know you've already covered it, but just
no, it was great.
So great. And they get their own little new uniform. That's cool.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And so, which more cosplay opportunities everyone.
Yeah. More money.
Sorry, were you already coming as Janeway? I won't then.
Yeah, well, we can all come as different Janeways now.
Is it Michelle who dresses as evil Janeway?
Yes, I think it is. So yeah, the Diviner realizes what's going on. They've only nicked the protostar, so they nicked the actual protostar from the proto drive, which is in the ship.
Nick the proto car.
Yes, thank you. So the Diviner's heading back, and there's a really, I love the moment where Dal floats up to the two miners, and they go, "Oh, we can understand." And one of them starts confessing the love to the other one.
Don't you think this was really brave to have sort of gay love professed? Because it's obviously two males in a kids show.
Yeah,
this is fine.
And it wasn't telegraphed. It was just there. It
was
wasn't
just
like,
there.
Look what we're doing.
And Dal just goes, and all Dal says is, "This is great, but we're too busy for that. We need to get this done first."
I agree.
Also, species as well. So one of them had 4 arms, but
and one had one eye.
And I really felt like in a comedy moment, there was something just so profound about like these people. They've been put to work. They've been cut off from being able to talk to one another. It's like straight out of the Bible with the Tower of Babel, really. But but it's been used to evil against them. And that moment when they can talk to each other, I actually thought it was a profound moment, kind of nicely underplayed. I like that. And again, as you say, and they also introduce a very quick gay storyline just in a moment.
But it didn't go. We didn't hear anything else about it, but it just was what it was.
Yeah,
exactly.
And if anything, and I may be reading more into this than is there, but the fact that you can do a joke like this with a same-sex couple, there's something even bigger about that. The fact that not only is it so normalized, but we can use it to set up a joke, but it is not a joke at the expense of their sexuality in any way, shape or form. It's just a joke that could have been delivered could have been done by any couple in that circumstance. That is in its own way very progressive. And what's great about that is kids watch this and they accept it. So there you go, job done. Hopefully job done, but we'll see. So nice moment for Rock as well, because obviously we had the other week where Rock learned all these skills and was, I don't want to be the security guard. And you get that scene where it starts off, you guard the door because you're big.
Yeah, you hold the door.
Because I'm the engineer. And then it's, no, actually, you're better at this. I'll hold the door.
Yeah, it's sort of like he's looking at it and Rock's, how's staring at it fixing it? Well, if you got a better idea, and then you get all the Star Trek techno babble.
Yeah.
And it felt like a payoff to the fact that they got stuck in that time loop and she learned all that stuff. Yeah. So she was, I love it when they place things. Yeah, when they place things like that and you don't think anything of it, it's a sweet story about how she, like the one of us who struggles the most can learn over time. Like they might just need a little time, doesn't mean they're not worthy.
Yeah.
And that seemed like a beautiful moment. And then to have that payoff to this episode as well was just,
it was
against genius.
The only worry I have with this, and I thought this when they did the time episode with Rock learning all this stuff, is where does Jankum fit now? Because Rock seems to have all the skills that Jankum has.
Better.
Right, exactly. So where does Jankum now fit? And maybe that's something that'll be explored in the future. Like, what else can Jankum do?
Yeah.
Like, he's always been fixing things because he's needed to while he's been on the mining planet. But maybe he's actually good at something else, and maybe that's what we'll get. But it does worry me a little bit that
you've put Rock into Jankum's place.
Yeah, but I will absolutely give him the benefit of the doubt that they're probably going to do something really interesting.
We said this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And I think that they are doing this with the characters, and they're doing them. They seem to be doing them one by one.
Yeah,
fitting them into the role. Like Dal is staying as the captain, but he had to become the captain in Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah.
You've obviously got Rock now. He's becoming the engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it also.
But there's a story behind them all of how they get into this.
Yeah, and it feels like if you go for 60s Star Trek as well as the 60s animated series, but even if you just go for the straight up show, even though it's so progressive in so many ways, I think sometimes they went route one with their ideas of like, this is a big person, so they'll be security guard. I think that would be more. Whereas this is just an evolution on the idea. Just because you're big and everyone thinks you've got to be this thing doesn't mean you've got to be.
Doesn't mean you have
be
to
what
be.
you want to be. And it's just, again, it's just lovely.
Yeah. I'm just worried about Jankum. I just want him to find something that he can be as well.
I think he will.
Somebody's nicked his job. But anyway.
I think the show's going in a really good direction that it won't forget things like this.
Yeah, I think they've definitely got clear ideas of where these characters are going.
It also shows that they're not, they don't feel like they've got to put everything out in one episode, one half a series. Yeah. They can take their time. Like,
I wonder if we're getting 20 episodes, if they're calling it season 1, because it won't be till the end of the 20 episodes where they'll all actually be in the positions as crew members as what they really do.
It might not be till the end of that we actually find out what the show's going to be going forward. You know, we've had one season now or 1.5 season or whatever of it like this, but what is this going to be as an ongoing concern? Is it going to be something maybe a little bit different? I think we'll talk about that a bit when we get to the end of this episode.
I was going to say, I feel like, because it's like it's both a contained story, but it also, you can see how it'd be the first half of a story.
Yeah.
But like the half of the story, it's like 2 chapters in a
it's
kind of like
it's bringing one story arc to an end, but it's starting another at the same time.
Yeah, and put together, they make a bigger story, but they're 2 different parts.
Which is what I think good TV does these days. Like, I always go back to I think the model for a lot of how we do television now was established with shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where each season had its own arc that had a beginning, middle, and an end, but it wasn't the end of the show. There were still threads that you could pick up later on and develop further. And I think a lot of shows, like taking, for example, like the Arrowverse shows, they tend to work to that. Like, they introduce a new villain for each season and you wrap that up, but there's still things. So, yeah, I feel like this half season has been the crew comes together, and then we're going to find out what happens later. The Miners chinning Dreadnought is good. I'm glad that the Miners got a bit of revenge. I'm glad the cat person is okay. That was what we were really worried about, was the little cute cat.
Well, the little girl is the one who finishes Dreadnought off.
Exactly. Yeah, with a
claws come out.
and this is what, like, this is what it almost feels like this whole series is building up to. They start from this position where they're enslaved here. They go off their adventure with the ship. They come back and then they liberate this place which held them prisoner. It's like, it's not enough just for them to be free. They've got to free others. And that's what makes the difference between them being plucky chances and them being Starfleet.
Yeah.
And this illustrates how far they've come so well.
And they, just to go to the visuals for a minute of when the cat's claws do come out and she slashes, it's a very sort of anime style effect that they use where the screen goes black and you just see the slashes across the camera. So that's really nice that they're bringing in, oh, look, you know, we've established our visual style, but this is animation and we can have a little bit of fun with that now and again. And
there's lots of styles of animation, and let's not be scared.
And let's make the most of the format we're in. You know, like, we are a cartoon. Let's behave like a cartoon. An animation, I should say.
And so I love that they brought in a little bit of a different influence to the animation for that moment. So, shall we talk about then? We finally get the Diviner's backstory. And we've talked about this in previous weeks, that we thought he was going to be doing something that at least he felt was altruistic in some way. And we do kind of find that out. And
well, we get the reveal here, don't we, as well, that Janeway isn't really evil Janeway.
Yeah, Janeway isn't evil Janeway.
Oh, that was lovely. And I also thought, like, it's nice that, he is warped and bitter by his experience of the past, but it shows like he came from somewhere. There's a reason for that bitterness. It's not just a cartoon evil. And I forget his first name, but Noble, who plays him,
John Noble.
John Noble, such a great actor, such a rich voice for this part. It's so perfectly cast. But I just love the fact that, as I say, he's not just evil for no reason.
No,
the Federation are destined to kill his planet. That's a pretty good motive for wanting to wipe them out.
Now, do we think it's let's look at things that are coming up later in this episode. Do we think that somebody who has very little regard for the Prime Directive, except when she's telling other people to follow it, might have anything to do with this?
You think Janeway's going to cause it?
No, you see, this is where you get your chance for a crossover, because who always wants to do first contact, but it doesn't always go that well? The crew of the Cerritos could be the crew that beats the Diviner species and makes a bit of a hash of it. But I do think this raises this bigger idea that in Star Trek, so often we assume that the Federation makes contact with the species and it's happily ever after that. And this presents an idea of, well, no, they went to this planet and it caused a civil war because some people wanted to be part of the Federation and some people didn't. And that raises this really interesting idea of, all right, how would a society react to that? And not everybody is going to like it.
In all fairness, Voyager did do that first. They had Friendship 1, the whole idea that a probe which was sent out with messages from Earth caused a planet to kill itself, basically, because they saw what they could do with this information.
Yeah. And it's a riff on that, isn't it? And I find that really interesting. And the Diviner... it's kind of got a point. The only thing I didn't like about the backstory, even though it probably explains some of the timeline issues we've had this season, is that we lent on time travel again. I just feel like, I know it's a sci-fi trope, and I know we've done a whole bloody series on Star Trek's time travel. We did that for months and months. But I just feel like Discovery Season 2 was all about time travel. We've had The Guardian of Forever in Discovery. Picard Season 2 looks like it's going to be all about time travel. I just feel like, are we maybe hitting time travel a bit too much recently?
Can I just give the counter argument to that, Jim? I'd just like to postulate against that wonderful, well, eloquently put argument. Shut your face. I love time travel. I love Doctor Who. I love Star Trek when it does time travel. More time travel.
No, I love time travel.
I like time travel, but all three shows revolving around time travel.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
To be fair, it's just one character, but it's a big reveal. And so you come away from it going, oh, time travel again is the big reveal. And I just think maybe we need to dial it down a little bit for a couple of years so that next time we do time travel, we go, oh, wow, time travel. We haven't done this in a while.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Time away.
I just love time travel. And do you know what? One thing, no, genuinely, joking aside, the one thing I will actually argue, which is really good the way they've done it, is that they've all used kind of different ideas with time travel. So Discovery goes to the future. That's like a huge, it's the first time we've seen a really new kind of look for Star Trek, which generally feels faithful. I think it's a bit, sometimes their color palette's a bit bland. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But generally, it feels like Star Trek, but in a new era, which I like. With Picard, you're going back in time, so we'll see what they do with that. With Discovery, with Prodigy, I love the idea that the Federation's best efforts will go awry, and how do they avoid that? And will this plucky group of interstellar travelers, this young group of upstarts, will they, after their adventures, show Starfleet what Starfleet means when it maybe has lost its way? That would be a really interesting one.
Will Prodigy, in the end, be about actually saving Gwen's planet from this ever happening?
I think it could be. Will Gwyn become the leader of that planet, and she will be able to show them why Starfleet's better? We can do all that, and it can be wonderful. It's just, it is just, I bristle a little bit when I'm like, oh, yes, time travel again.
Yeah, no, you're right. But
But
I'm just a sucker for time travel. I can't help
yeah,
it.
no, each one taken in isolation, great. They've done it well, and like you say, they've done it differently. It's just it kind of builds and builds and builds. Anyway, I've said my piece. So, what I do like is the final confrontation with the Diviner, and there's a lovely sort of poetic aspect to the fact that it's
before this, when Dal beams over
mm-hmm.
and he asks him what is his plan, and he says, I don't know yet, I'll tell you when I've got one.
Yeah.
Captain Kirk says that in one of them, and I can't remember which episode or movie it's from.
Mm.
And I've been trying to search it. I've been reading through.
See, I can't remember.
Yeah,
that.
I'm sure he says it in one of them, and he goes,
I'm
I'll
sure
tell
it's
you
not the
when I've got
movie.
one.
Do you think in the movies?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember in the movies. In the movies, just because there's less of them, and
yeah,
I end up watching the movies more
I'm
often.
sure it's Captain Kirk.
It sounds
saying,
like Kirk could say. I mean, yeah.
I'd be surprised if it's one of the movies. As I say, just you usually end up watching those a bit more.
Yeah,
It's a limited run. So it may be in the series though. Yeah.
If anybody listening knows which episode it's from or where it's from,
yeah.
but I do know it's a Star Trek quote, and I just can't think which episode or movie it's from.
Very Kirk-esque.
The thing that makes me think of it's like, so you're from space. Not only working out of space, I'm actually from
Iowa.
Yeah.
So the confrontation then with the Diviner, there is a poetic justice to it being Zero, because the Diviner used Zero as a weapon essentially, and so Zero's like takes that back. And then I love what's going on with Gwyn, because like Dal says, don't look at it, look at me, which is very Indiana Jones, when they open the ark and everything. Yeah. But what I loved about it is Gwyn's eyes are drawn not to Dal, but to the Starfleet emblem that he's wearing. And I thought, at first I was like, wow, what a moment that Gwyn, when she needs something to focus on and something to believe in effectively, she's drawn to Starfleet. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. But then it twists the knife with it. And it's like, she's looked at that symbol for sort of solace in that moment. But in a way, it betrays her, because it reflects Zero to her. And that's what causes her to, well, we find out later she loses a memory of the particular plot point, which would be useful had she not forgotten, which is a bit of a bugger, but it happens.
Are we up to the moment where she kind of has her accident?
Well, yeah, we've had the Diviners done the reveal that he's actually made the Protostar into some sort of weapon to attack the Federation.
To me, that moment, sorry.
And I'm just trying to think what he's done, because it's obviously not a straight up thing. It's some sort of virus it's got to
he's done something so it'll corrupt other ships and turn them all on each other.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to pay off.
Well,
I mean, I was just going to touch on the moment, though. For me, it's when you think Dal's died. And genuinely, I was questioning for a second. Are they going to kill her? Is the little cat person going to be our new crew member? Like, are they really going here? There was actually a second where I believed it, and I never on the real series, or not real series. Sorry, I take that back. That was the wrong thing. You know what I mean? But the non-animated series, the live action shows, unless it's pretty well telegraphed, I don't always see, like, usually you think that the regular crew members, they're going to be healed up by the end of the episode. They're going to be fine. This moment really played for me. I really, for a second, I was like, are they actually saying she's dead? Are they really? And then they just reveal in a minute that she's okay. But
no, it
I
worked.
thought that was actually really well played. It really worked. Very convincing.
Did, yeah. I mean, as you said, there are telltale signs in the live action show. For example, if one of the crew in Discovery gets more lines than usual in an episode, they're probably
like 3
die by the end of it.
Yeah, if you hear anything about their backstory, oh dear.
Yeah, that's you done. Like that episode this season where Reese was like, "Oh, I'm, on my homeworld, we used to get bad tornadoes."
Yeah, we were convinced he was dying, weren't we?
Yeah, me too. I turned to Nicola, was going like, "Oh God, that's not looking good for Reese."
So this idea then of if the Protostar now gets close to another Federation ship, it will corrupt it, and eventually that will destroy Starfleet. Now, has the spoiler embargo lifted sufficiently?
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you could just spoilers. We're about to do
Right,
some
so-
spoilers.
I
Tune
don't-
off now if you don't want spoilers.
Spoiler alert for a recent film. Recent-ish.
Oh.
So,
I thought you meant about Star Trek. Which
no,
film you-
this is a spoiler for a recent film. Have you both seen the new Bond film?
Yeah.
No, that's not a recent film.
It's
That was out
recent.
last year.
Yeah,
We
so
were all still locked up at home when we could watch that.
It's
Yeah.
been out so long, it's entitled plenty of time to die by now.
okay, fair enough. So at the end of the new Bond film, something happens to James Bond that means he cannot physically get close to his loved ones, which puts him in a dilemma. And I feel this is very similar to that, because it's like, you can't go back to Starfleet now because you will destroy them just by being near to them. And I wonder if this is how this crew ends up keeping this ship, because maybe they'll try, we can't get it out of the system, there's no way you can ever go back to the Federation, you've earned it now, you can spread the Federation ideas far and wide using your proto drive, which can take you to places we can't reach, but you cannot come back home. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the setup for season 2 onwards.
Yeah.
And then that puts a different twist on this final scene where we get real Janeway.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go on.
No, go.
No, all I was going to say was the only reason why I don't want that to happen, because that's a beautiful idea. I really love that. But I kind of want what Elliot mentioned a couple of episodes ago when I was last on, of Janeway versus hologram Janeway arguing it out. I want that too much. That's got to happen somehow, even if she has to beam her hologram because the ship can't come close enough. Like,
do that. Yeah.
Have we got any theories on the USS Prometheus?
The Prometheus.
Yeah,
well,
you know,
I mean, this could be. I
well,
did
in
think
Voyager-
the parallels are there.
well,
Wasn't
in
that one
Voyager,
into 3?
no, in what is it?
I was thinking Next Generation, isn't it?
No, it's the end of
Riker
season
ship.
3 finale. Oh, no, sorry, season 4 finale, and it's the one where they come across the alien who's made his ship look like a Federation ship.
Of course, I'm
with
thinking of the
slipstream
Pegasus.
drive,
Yeah.
and it's the XO1A, which isn't the number of this ship. This is the NCC 80. I can't remember the rest of it.
Yeah, because I was thinking the
But
Pegasus.
I've been thinking about this all week. It's how Janeway's got the USS Prometheus, because she can't have this. It can't be the US Prometheus that she came across. But I think that they've got all the scans because it looks very similar as well.
All right. So you're saying this is a ship based on the guy's made up
Yeah,
ship?
I think it's when
Okay.
Voyager's got home, they've used all the scans and the technology they've picked up to make this ship.
And I
Or
bet
could it be the other way around? They somehow got blueprints of this ship.
he got blue.
That's what they're
Yeah.
guessing.
Well,
I reckon.
they did massive scans, didn't they? And they even built a slipstream drive at one point.
Yeah. If
No,
that is right, Elliot, I think Jane Whaler tried to palm that off as her own work when she got back. Like, while we've been away, I've designed this new ship.
I kind of like the idea. You've accidentally got me thinking about another theory, because the one ship it keeps on making me think of, and you said Prometheus, I was thinking the Pegasus, the one which Riker driving into an asteroid, basically. I think I've always thought that kind of had some antecedent, like since we've been talking about the Protostar, it seems the same sort of experimental school. I wonder if the kind of the Protostar is some sort of ancestor of that ship. I think that'd be kind of a cool tie-in, because they're both kind of experimental ships, both play about with what a starship can do.
And this is how you bring in the Section 31 crossover now, because who designed the Protostar? Giorgio. You know, you bring all this in. So yeah, real Janeway at the end then. What I took from that, apart from the fact that it's just cool having real Janeway there, they're still looking for Chakotay. So Chakotay, it seems like he's not turned up. So has the Diviner stashed him away somewhere?
Maybe that's the other reason why they stay in the quadrant. You know, they don't return home is because they're on the hunt for Chakotay. It's like, well, like that's the only ship which can cross that far that quickly. Because we postulated about the distance it can travel and the fact that it's in the. Is it Delta Quadrant?
I think it's in
the Delta Quadrant now.
It's back in the Delta Quadrant.
And it started in the Gamma?
No, it started in the Delta, it went to the Gamma, and now it's back in the Delta.
Yeah, so it can cross between quadrants, which does suggest it's the fastest ship we've ever seen. So maybe that's the reason they've got to go out there, is because no other starship can get out there in time.
Yeah, well, Janeway said that she was about 3 months away, did she, in the quantum slipstream?
Something like that, yeah.
Which puts it at the same distance, I was doing the maths on this, at 50 years away from Earth at Voyager speed. Because by the end of season 4, they've taken about 20 years off.
Yeah.
Because Kesser's already thrown them 10 years, and the Borg took them so far, and the catapult thing that they had, I think that was before.
They got a lot of
so the quantum slipstream could do about 50,000 light years in 3 months, but the protostar can do it sort of in probably 3 hours.
Right. Okay. So protostar better than quantum slipstream.
Yeah, better than transwarp.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm guessing there'll be something to do with the speed the ship can do will be why it has to keep out there. And you know there'll always be an excuse why those guys stay on there.
They've set it up already, haven't they? That the protostar they can't go back to the Federation, or they'll destroy the Federation. So that's not going to happen, because that doesn't happen for another 1,000 years.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's going to certainly be something which you've got to have that moment. You can't introduce human Janeway as opposed to hologram Janeway without having her meet them. Like, it would be bad storytelling.
You've got to have them talking to each other.
Yeah,
that's got to happen.
They can hologram Janeway can transfer a matrix over like the Doctor did, and we can get around that.
And I do love the idea of Elliot's again. I'm going to signpost this. I just love the idea that hologram Janeway's in defense from what she's learned from them, and then Admiral Janeway, with her more seasoned approach, is kind of arguing against why these guys should be out there doing it. That's got to be a scene. It's just going to be so much fun.
Yeah. So I mean that's pretty much what I've got on this one. Have we got any sort of closing comments on this one before we move on to basics?
Just say it's been a really good first season, half season, however you want to look at it. It's been really strong. It's had a definite story arc. And apart from the last 2 episodes, which was a proper full 2-parter, like the first 2 episodes were a full proper 2-parter, you can literally go back and watch any one of these on their own.
Yeah.
Even though there's a continuous story arc.
Yeah. I'd also throw in there as well that for me, I it's a bit like general, not specific to this episode, but I love that Prodigy has gone back to the classic kind of credit sequence. So you've got you have got the stars making their faces and stuff. That's fine. But you've got a ship going through space.
Yeah.
It's adventurous. The theme tune gets you in the mood. It gets you in a real adventurous kind of spirit.
Yeah.
Forget your bloody sketchbooks in Discovery. I'm sorry, that one always pisses me off because it ruins the sense of adventure. It's not adventurous to show sketches of the ships which you're going to see.
It's a bit too arty-farty, isn't it? And the Picard one would probably be okay if the theme was in any way memorable, but I couldn't.
It's a theme tune loosely based on Inner Light, so you don't have to pay rights to someone. And the credits just don't get me excited. This gets me excited. Like, it's an animation, and it gets me more excited than these kind of live action shows right from the get-go.
Strange New Worlds, these credits are going to be.
They're going to be
go
amazing.
Back to this. That's all I'm saying. Because I was watching DS9, and even that, I thought that's a stationary kind of like space station, and still because they've got the shuttlecraft, or later on the Defiant whooshing around, and you show it kind of they show a panoramic view of it. It still gets you set up for adventure.
Yeah, once they got to season 4 and zhuzhed up the music and put all the extra stuff, it was really good.
Mm.
Okay, so yeah, that's Prodigy for now. Then we'll be covering the second half of season 1/season 2, whatever it's called, when it comes round. But let's finish off basics then. So, season 3 premiere of Voyager season 3, basics part 2. Last time we saw our heroes, they were marooned on a volcanic/arid planet with dinosaurs and cavemen.
Yeah, Tom Paris had been blown up in a shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Doctor was still on board.
And beamed into space.
And Mr. Suter was still on the Voyager.
Yeah. And yeah, we pick it up. Now, this going back to Prodigy briefly, I'm not bothered if they don't find Chakotay. And straight away, we get reasons why. Like, the first thing he says in this one is he comes over here and goes, don't sweat, perspiring wastes water. Like,
oh, God, that was so dumb. And also, like, they've already set us up with the dumbest of premises. I'm sorry, but look, I know, okay, I get it. It's he thinks it's his kid. I mean, they may as well have just, her going, oh, no, please come and save me and my baby. This is obviously a trap. Like, she may as well just...
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he doesn't say that he thinks it's a trap. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I went on a bit of a rant last week, and I stand by it. Chakotay's attitude to parenting, or what we see of it in this, is just shocking. Like, the first thing he says is, well, I'm sure we don't even, I'm not sure I will accept that child as my child. No, and he's just trying to get out of it all the way through. He's horrible. Yeah. Anyway, so he's dishing out a lot of wisdom in here, and we'll get to some questionable dialogue that he has later on. But a yellow shirt gets dinosaured straight away. So
yeah, and by the way,
sorry,
can we add to that? Neelix goes, oh, I feel like some way it's my fault. No, it's definitely your fault. You literally goes, no, you pick up those bones like, you're the hot shit. Like,
have these bones been placed in front of this cave mouth with some sort of warning? Yes, possibly. Pick them up.
Yeah, bitch. Like, I mean, Jesus Christ, Neelix. Like, who do you think you are? Just pick up the bones yourself. Like, at least help him out. At least, hey, let's pick up these bones together.
Also, like in the last episode, it's like, we're going to break down into 6 teams. You will all be team leaders. Neelix? Really?
Well, he's meant to be their man in Havana, their guide to the Delta Quadrant. So
yeah, and he has been a scavenger and used to surviving on his own. So
just we know how crap he is.
To be fair, he's probably the best one out of this crew in this situation. He's definitely better than the Red Indian.
Well,
I mean, I have to say, like, I really like the guy who plays Neelix, Ethan
Phillips is great, yeah.
Ethan Phillips, and the character could have been really great. It was just so miswritten and clown shoes and
the problem with Neelix is Neelix has really good episodes, and then he has episodes where there was obviously different writers for Neelix, and ones that wanted to take him serious in his skills, and then others that saw how he looked and thought, oh, let's just make him a clown this week.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. Neelix was badly written at times.
Yes.
There are episodes where Neelix gets to do something serious and does a really good job with it. And as you say, Squeak, it's absolutely not Ethan Phillips' fault whatsoever. It's just, he does.
And it's not like there wasn't a good character in there. It was miswritten for so
There is a
often.
good character in there because we saw the good character on a number of occasions. That's the really annoying thing about the character of Neelix, and I think it's why he's such a derivative character that people are almost Marmite with him.
Yeah,
and it's because of that.
Yep.
And Janeway then, so how long have they been there here? Like less than a day? And Janeway's going, right, I'm going to order you all to eat worms. Like,
eat bugs now.
I get what you're trying to do, Janeway. You've got to keep the crew alive, but we're not starving yet.
But she didn't eat one herself.
No, she
passed them on and went, eat these, it's the captain's orders. Well,
Yeah.
lead by example and eat one.
Well, as I say, like, you've only been there a day or so. If people aren't at the stage yet where they want to eat the bugs, just let them get a little bit hungrier. It'll be fine.
Yeah, give it a week.
I think she jumps to the ordering you to eat bugs pretty quickly. But anyway, there's a really good bit where Seska has a chat with the Doctor, and I love how Seska's basically grilling him as, are you programmed to lie? Because she's trying to work out if he's lying to her. But the Doctor takes that as, oh, I can lie to people if you want me to. Is that what you wanted me to do? I just love the banter between them.
Oh yeah, and I mean, just again, like, I know I'm slightly pulling back to part 1, but to go into part 2. But like, I love the idea, just the easy conceit there is just have him switch his program off to turn back on in 12 hours or whatever it is.
That was really good.
And then he's perfectly set up for this part, so he's he doesn't give the game away. Lovely, Rain.
That's what they did really well with this, is they actually left themselves ways of resolving the cliffhanger.
Well,
which
this is what we said last week. These were actually filmed back-to-back episodes, even though it's a season finale and a season premiere. They were filmed together at the same time.
And it does show doing 2-parters like that rather than Best of Both Worlds, where you build to, I still maintain, is the greatest cliffhanger ever.
Yeah, it's probably one of the greatest cliffhanger episodes of all time, is Best of Both Worlds. But
then
part 2 didn't live up to it.
No, because they had no idea what they were doing. But anyway, another good line from the Doctor. I'm a doctor, not a counterinsurgent. And he references like Che Guevara and things like that. Great stuff. And Suda, like, we didn't really talk about him last week. Like, Brad Dourif is such a good actor. Like, and I remember he's in a first season episode of The X-Files, Beyond the Sea, which, if you've not seen it, is a classic episode of The X-Files. But I saw like a behind the scenes documentary on that, and they made a point of saying he's really expensive. Like, for a TV budget to get Brad Dourif as a guest star, he's not a cheap actor to get. And it just shows the disparity between The X-Files, which did become massive, but the budget The X-Files was working on in season 1, we can get this guy for 1 episode. Whereas Voyager's like, yeah, we can afford him as a recurring character. It's fine.
I love the setup of this as well. It's just there was again, though, sorry to refer back to episode 1, but just quickly, it was that moment where you had him with Janeway, and he just has that flash of anger, that thing which keeps you in part 2 guessing about, like, is he going to stick on the straight and narrow? You kind of like, he's kind of narratively probably got to, but he performs it so well that it does make you question. He's still got that evil inside him. He's battling it. It's not gone because of what World War Tuvok's done. It's just suppressed, and it's still a work in progress.
I was have to say, with how we've got him as a recurring character here, though, you do get a lot of actors work on Star Trek for less than what they normally do, because they actually want to be on Star Trek because of the culture.
Yeah.
And also, Star Trek had a healthy budget at the time compared to season 1 of the X-Files. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a degree of prestige in being in Star Trek. And if you're a Trekkie, which a lot of actors are, you jump at it. And then, Elliot, you've already made reference to this. Chakotay's line, the only Indian in the universe who can't start a fire by rubbing 2 sticks together. And my word, like, you could not have dialogue like this. And
it's shocking.
You shouldn't have had it back then. I mean, you can pick it apart. First of all, shouldn't be referring to yourself as an Indian. Shall we play up stereotypes, rubbing 2 sticks together? Like, it just, oh dear. Like, the fact that it's delivered by a Latino actor who's pretending to be Native American in the first place.
And that peace pipe he was smoking while he was doing it was all wrong. I mean,
the ball dance afterwards. It's just so bad. But I won't harp on about it because we've done the whole Chakotay and why he's such a bad representation of Native Americans. But
We've done it time and time again.
that is a particular.
We don't want to send up a smoke signal on it.
No, indeed. That is a particularly egregious example of it, I think, that bit of dialogue. But luckily, Janeway's there to lend a hair to the problems. So.
Well, he remembers something his father once taught him. Now, why couldn't it be? I remember something my spirit animal once taught me.
It makes you wonder, actually, because, okay, so his father once told him this. 2 ways this could have happened. Either someone has donated their hair, or his father's been out and scalped someone and gone, I'll spend that metal fire. So I don't know, but we'll leave that to everybody's imagination. An interesting idea, though. You get that shot of the cave person seeing them making the fire. And that's one of these, have they just broken the Prime Directive? Because they've potentially introduced the ability to make fire to not only a pre-warp civilization, but a very primitive civilization.
I mean, the whole episode is really the one thing which I do think is clever is like the whole idea that these guys go through space visiting new planets all the time, but they're so reliant on their technology. How good are you when you're just you on this planet with nothing else?
I'm sure that, like the military today, go on all sorts of survival exercises with very limited equipment, if not no equipment. And I'm sure somewhere like Starfleet Academy that trains these people would probably have these sort of training exercises.
I think they'd have like Bear Grylls or someone going
a
little bit.
Yeah, it's like to me, because this is after the Borg have attacked as well, when Starfleet is becoming more militaristic again. So they would have these survival things.
Do you wonder if they've got a bit lazy? Maybe Starfleet as a whole have got lazy with technology. As opposed to going to hand, they're going to say, right, what more technology can we throw at it? Maybe they.
Well, this has been said about the next gen, and you can see it in the next gen first few seasons. And Picard makes a big deal that they're not military, the explorers, the bettering themselves. But you had in Kirk's day, which sort of, let's say 100 years earlier, they were militaristic and all that because they had the war with the Klingons, they had the war with the Romulans, and Starfleet had got lazy up until the encounter with the Borg. But then you have, sort of with DS9, they'd started making military shit. Like, that's what the Defiant was. You had the Akira class came out for military. Voyager's designed in a different way.
So when Voyager's designed, where are we in? Sorry, I'm just trying to remember where we are in DS9 at this point when it first launches.
Beginning season 3, roughly.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's only then that Cisco's going off to get the Defiant. So it's arguable they were just at the right sweet spot before the Dominion threat.
No, but you've had the Borg threat, why they were becoming militaristic again.
You haven't really seen that kind of taking on, because they even talk about like when they first bring the Defiant. I've watched it recently. They say, they designed these to combat the Borg, but because as they saw them as less of an immediate threat, they kind of calmed down from that. So I think this is why Voyager kind of gets away with being more of an adventuring kind of ship.
Practically a science vessel, but I do take the point that they would have.
But they were going on. They were essentially on the first mission, going on a military mission to capture the Marquis.
No, that's true. But yeah, you would think. I mean, and they do manage. Maybe it's one of them where, like in an office, you have your one person who's trained in first aid or whatever. Janeway's obviously the only one who's been trained on survival because she's the one who's going, right, eat the bugs, cut my hair off. So maybe that's it. The captain's got all the training. She's like, right, I'm going to tell you all how it's done. And, Tuvok shows that he's handy with a bow and arrow and stuff. And Chakotay gets pissy because he's not again.
Actually, I this does slightly unravel something from the beginning of Voyager as well. So if they're meant to be like this, the crew, which is set up to go after the Marquis, and they're sent out to do that. Okay, I get having a new ship. Why put a brand new crew, like with some really unexperienced new people on it, if they're going after a mission which has got to be like so military to get the market?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that's just raised another point for me. But
Not a plot hole in Voyager. I mean, come on.
you were very nasty about Voyager. I don't mind it that much.
Voyager doesn't have plot holes.
It is all in good fun. I love
I'm just
Voyager.
letting you know, Nicola is watching this one. She said she's going to tune in. She's in the other room with the dog, so that's why she isn't
Well,
joining
she ain't
us.
saying anything.
I'm probably in disgust, that's why. She's a big Voyager fan, you know
No,
this.
So am I. I'm building Voyager.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Voyager. I just like to poke fun a little bit here and there. But yes.
Okay,
Anyway,
but Nicola can poke me back. She's here.
well, yeah, that's your problem, mate.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah,
to Johnny.
that's
She'll
right.
have a long time to wait till she can poke us back.
Yeah, that's true.
Excuse me, what's she been doing with you?
Suda and the Doctor stuff's really good. Like this idea is sort of what you were talking about earlier, Squee, like that he realizes he's going to have to kill someone in this scenario, and it's almost like, I mean, it's sort of an addiction metaphor, isn't it? That he's gone cold turkey effectively, and he's more or less kicked this habit, but somebody's dangling a drug in front of him now, and it's not that he can just say no, he has to do it in this situation. So it's awful for him, really. You know what a horrible.
You even get the first moment where the Doctor realizes that he's free, and he's asking him for help. Then he kind of has this moment where he goes, "Oh, I see, you're free now. You're gonna like to." He automatically thinks the worst of him, and he's he's a doctor. He should have some psychological training, and he's thinking the worst of him, which is kind of understandable in the circumstances. But
I think a lot of it's because, like, a lot of his healing's been through Tuvok with his mind meld, and it still looked at a lot of it being mystical almost. What the Vulcans do, and the Doctor's skeptical about. The Doctor's still skeptical about a lot of it. Like, hear him talking about mind melds and
certainly
what a stupid thing that is.
Yeah, like certainly in Kirk's time, they had no understanding of how the mind meld works, and we know that it's one of the things that the Vulcans keep most secret. So, yeah, it's probably a frustration for doctors that there is this thing that they just don't have that understanding of, you know. So,
which is quite. I don't know if it's satisfying in a way that even in this future, with all the technology, there's still mysteries that the best doctors in the world can't understand. And
we still don't understand the brain fully, and we certainly don't understand the Vulcan brain fully. So, yeah. The Vulcans probably have got brain maps of every species going, but they just don't want to share it with everyone. Right, not having that. And then, you know, this pays off with Suda, where he does kill a Kazon, and he's visibly traumatized from it.
Yeah, this is one of the realest moments, possibly in Voyager altogether. Like, you know, that's a real kind of genuine moment where you feel for him. He is this brutal killer, but he's trying to not be.
Yeah.
And then
he's trying to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really good. It was such a great character.
I love the idea that it's very easy to believe in stuff, the ideals, when you're talking about someone who always wanted to do good and it's always been on the true path. Maybe he's gone off the rails a little bit, but he's always really been tending towards good. Like, you know, Paris, he fell off the wagon a bit, but he was always generally on this path.
Yeah.
What about someone who's a killer who's turned around? How do we feel about that? That's a really good challenge for our Star Trek and Starfleet kind of morals on this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is his last episode, but it is a real shame because he could have been the Garak of Voyager. You know, there's a similar sort of type of actor in terms of the background. You know, you've got Andrew Robinson, who's done horror films and he's done villain roles, and Brad Dourif's done the same, and they get this really juicy character to work with in Star Trek. So yeah,
Oh, do you know, watching back, sorry, a slight tangent, but watching back Deep Space Nine, as I said before, some things you remember more fondly than others, and you're surprised sometimes watching it back. No character really is exactly how you remember it when it's been a while since you watched it. Garrick, it's exactly what I remember,
yeah,
and he's exactly that good still. He's
Yeah.
amazing. So
Brilliant.
good. And you're right, Suter could have so easily been this.
yeah.
The acting was superb. The whole idea that he was a murderer and you never know which way he's going to go. It's
Yeah,
just
like-
so well played in this.
Well, we have the end of 3 story arcs, don't we?
Yeah.
In this episode, and I think the one that most annoyed about, and I wonder if they literally didn't know where to go with it, with Suter, what to do with him if they kept him in.
Maybe, or again, I do wonder if it goes back to this. You know, Brad Dourif's not cheap as TV guest actors go.
Yeah,
He's never out of work. He's always quite busy. In fact, he was probably going off to do Lord of the Rings not too long after this was going.
Yeah.
I'd also kind of believe, if I'm honest, that they. I think Voyager was always based on the idea that Deep Space Nine is the kind of like ugly stepchild. Like, so it would do something different from what Star Trek traditionally does. It would go on a war footing. Voyager, in contrast, was always seeing it as going towards peace and like traditional Star Trek values. And I think they weren't ready to introduce this character, but I think it would have made it a lot more interesting.
I think it could have been really interesting.
yeah, like it's quite bizarre, isn't it, when you think Voyager came after DS9, and DS9 did all the story arc thing, and it's now, I think, arguably the most loved of all of the Star Trek series we've had.
And I think, though, that was intentional because, Deep Space
But then
Nine...
Voyager's just gone back to the old format of episode of the week.
And I
And
think that
little
was
story arcs, but not
Just,
huge story arcs.
Voyager was very much a replacement for TNG.
Yeah.
Which just finished, and it was positioned as such and developed as such. But yeah, either way, sad to see Suda go, but he does get to go off in a heroic way, and you get the brilliant thing where the Doctor's been totally deactivated, but he's left a message for Suda, and it's like, it's all on you, but I know you can do it, sort of thing. And that's great. However, back on the planet, it just goes from bad to worse. Like, we've got Kez getting kidnapped. Chakotay tries to go and do a negotiation, which quickly breaks down and ends up in a bow and arrow fight and chucking spears at each other. And let's go hide in the cave that we know where the dinosaurs live. And a blue shirt gets eaten by a dinosaur. Then a bloody volcano goes off. It's just...
Also, in the story where you've already got some very uncomfortable stereotypes about Native Americans, you've literally got spear chuckers. This is not ideal.
No, I did try deliberately to avoid using that phrase, but thank you.
I'm just saying it literally happens. Look, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's what happens in the episode. They've got people who chuck spear. They are literally spear chuckers. I'm not doing any stereotypes about any people. I'm just saying.
But
It's unfortunate.
We do that. And yeah, it does all just go. But you know what? It goes back to Chekhov's gun, not Pavel Chekhov the playwright. Where if you introduce something early in the story, you have to pay it off later on. And we introduce the cave people, we introduce the dinosaurs, we introduce the volcano, and we pay all of them off.
Yeah.
So at least we're doing that. We're not mucking about.
Do you know the bit which really troubles me is just the ending. I love the fact, like, again, they've got this wonderful stuff with Suter on the ship and him kind of like foiling the Kazons, but it's like, oh, and Paris was alive. Yes, we knew that. Oh, and he's brought back all the kind of friends. Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. It just seemed very by numbers.
The Talaxians are here to save the day, but it's literally like last minute. So, you don't...
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes to wrap up the episode. And, like, I think they've thought of this at the end. They've gone, all right, let's back-write this into it that Paris goes off on the ship to get these guys.
Yeah, we sent Paris off. We've got to bring him back in.
I don't
think they even thought that. I think
we did mention the Talaxians right in the beginning of the first episode. So the Talaxians have always been there.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the whole idea that he goes off. Oh, we think he said, oh, he's not. It's it's too predictable, I think.
It wasn't. This is the car goes over the cliff moment with Tom Paris. His shuttle got blown up, but it didn't. The phaser actually missed it, and it was an explosion just in space.
Yeah, it's and again, it's just as predictable. You know that he's one of the main cast. Even back then, you would have heard about it in advance if they were going to kill
Tom Paris in such a. I was going to say in such a lame way, but
or Skin of Evil kind of way. I suppose they do.
The main characters in Star Trek in a fairly offhand, lame way. So yeah.
Actually, yeah, no, you say it. Okay, you've won me. I appreciate that.
No, I wasn't fooled. I fully.
No, this is our. We talked about cliffhangers a lot last week, didn't we? And this is the cliffhanger part. Is Tom Paris was blown up, and this goes right back to 1940s style. His shuttle was blown up in the end of the first episode, but in the second episode, the phaser missed it.
Yeah.
I think there's also that thing of like you're saying about when you introduce a gun, you better see that gun being shot later on. I think it's the same thing. If you've got Tom Paris being blown up, actually, I don't know if this is the same thing, but anyway, you would usually have an establishing shot of his reaction just before it blows up. So like in Skin of Evil, even as lame a death as that was for Tasha Yar, you see her reacting to her dying. You see her dying.
Yeah.
Just even seeing a ship blown up, I believe there was a small escape pod which was within the shuttlecraft or something.
Well, the shuttle wasn't
unless you
blown
see
up,
him
was
die.
there?
I'm just saying, unless you see him die, I don't believe it.
No, exactly. Yeah, I mean that it does all wrap up pretty rapidly once we get it. We do get this little subplot with one of the cave people's trapped by lava, but Chakotay saves them, and then in turn the cave people look after Naomi Wildman's baby. Oh, it's Naomi's the baby, isn't she? And
yeah, they give Naomi a leaf to save her.
So yeah, they're doing a little bit there, like, oh, it's showing that they can make peace with people even if there's a language barrier. But I don't know, maybe it's a case of because we're doing so many different threads, not all of them land in quite the same way. I think the most successful thing is the pseudo doctor stuff in this episode.
Oh, without a doubt, that's the best part of the episode.
The rest of it doesn't land. Like Seska's death, I don't think lands in an enormous way. And
no, so like we have the explosion. What Suit was done in engineering is short-circuited the ship basically.
Yeah,
and Seska's basically killed in that explosion.
Yeah. And Seska has been the first big recurring villain in Voyager, since what, about a quarter of the way into season 1, we found out what Seska was. And her and the Kazon Nistrum have been repeated villains ever since. And this is where they bow out, though. I'd remembered there being a lot more finality to this, but they do leave the door open for Colour and the baby to potentially come back.
That's left open because they just leave. But no, this is the end of the Kazon, the end of Suter, the end of Seska.
Yeah.
Done and dusted.
Which I think the show absolutely needed to do. We needed to
get rid of the Kazon.
Yeah, we need to move on from Seska.
Seska was I like Seska as a character. I think she's a great villain. But they backed themselves into a corner of tying her in with the Kazon.
That was it.
Like, how do you get rid of the Kazon without getting rid of Seska? And I don't think you could do that by.
And I do love the ways in which they managed to bring Seska back. Like they were very imaginative with that.
Oh yeah, later in the show, yeah.
Like
there's a brilliant episode, isn't there, where it's the holodeck program that Tuvok's made, where they can take over the ship, and that is a wonderful episode.
Oh, and one of my favorites is when they've got the ship in different time zones. I thought that was a really imaginative way of doing time travel without really time travel. It's just the ships out of phase and different time streams. Yeah, that was lovely.
No, that's some great stuff, but yeah, we did. It was because it was just testing the believability of it so much that, well, we keep running into the same Kazon every time. Like they must just be going hell for leather to get ahead of you every time, so that when you bump into them,
Yeah, you've got this.
been there doing nefarious things, you know.
Like, I know it took them a long time to wear Voyager down and that, but when they finally come across like 3 of the big capital ships and all that, which she seems to have loads of these capital ships, they easily outgun Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
So where is this? Like, what technology was he after from Voyager? The replicators and the transporters, because they're obviously faster. They've got more firepower.
You've got, I guess, it's all the information from Voyager, and plus, like, it's a nippy little ship. Like, there's a quite big ship that, like, Voyager's selling point, I always thought, was it can travel stealthily through.
Well,
space.
that was always that was part of the thing with when they went after the Marquis, because it was maneuverable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in tight quarters.
I think that was the degree. And also, when you get you get Voyager, you get the database from the Federation, so that gives you lots of information on. Yeah,
there's plenty of reasons to steal Voyager, but anyway, that's the last.
To make it 2 years life work when they obviously keep beating you to keep going after them. So
they didn't stop the Borg. They kept beating the Borg, and the Borg kept coming back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this does wrap up the Kazon, and typically of, well, not just of Voyager, but typically of Voyager and typical of Next Gen, any episodic TV, we're back to business as usual by the end of the episode. We're back on the bridge, set a course for the Alpha Quadrant, done and dusted. Let's put that behind us. Off we go.
Yeah, we've repaired the ship.
And that's a good start to a season. Like, right, okay, we've wrapped up all the loose ends from the cliffhanger. What's next week's adventure going to be? And that's exactly what, if you're not going full serialized like DS9 did, that's exactly what your season premiere needs to do.
This is the big problem Voyager had, where Voyager should have had these ongoing problems. We've literally shorted out the ship to be able to get it back.
I mean, it's a great idea, but I think I don't think TV was ready for it then. It's like,
no, it wasn't.
It just wasn't. Like, it was Deep Space Nine was one of the
Deep Space Nine was ahead of its time.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of the first ones to do that in that way, the serialized.
And I think the contrasting viewers and ratings between DS9 and Voyager showed that the Star Trek fandom wasn't ready for it just yet.
Yeah.
They wanted to watch TNG and Voyager more than they wanted to watch DS9 at the time, which is absolutely fair. But as you said earlier on, Elliot, DS9, I think, has been reassessed historically and is now held in certainly than Voyager, I would say, perhaps not quite more than TNG.
I think TNG has a place in people's hearts because it was the first one that brought it back. Brought Star Trek back to our screens on the TV screen.
I've also got an argument myself that TNG at its best for me. Okay, I'll just say that for me is better than Deep Space Nine when TNG is at its best. But I think Deep Space Nine was at its best more often.
Yeah,
I think probably fair.
Yeah. The thing is, TNG at its best was up there. DS9 at its best is probably there. But TNG at its worst was way down there.
Yes.
And DS9 probably was about there at its worst.
Yeah.
So you have this. TNG did some stinkers.
Yeah, DS9 did a couple. But anyway.
Yeah.
It didn't have anybody fall in love with a candle in DS9. That's all I'm saying.
Very true. Very true. Anyway, I think that about does us then for Basics Part 2. So we will be back next week. We're back to live action Star Trek Discovery, mid-season premiere. I've forgotten what it's called. All In, I think it's called.
All In.
Yeah. So maybe a bit of a...
I'm hoping for a pickup in the second half of the series. I must admit, this first half series lost me a little bit. The idea of the anomaly seemed a little too similar to the Burn to me thematically.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we'll no doubt touch on it when we're back on it. But I do think season 4 of Discovery has been incredibly consistent. Like, I don't think it's hit that it's highest highs, but I do think it's felt more of a coherent, consistent story. But anyway, you'll have to come back and talk to us about Discovery, Dr. Squee, once we get stuck back into them, because I would love to give you some full time, give us your take on it so far and see where it winds up. But if you want to get in touch with us in the meantime, we're at RetrekPod on Twitter. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com. Unless you're trying to sell us things to get our website, which we don't have a website, we're
not going to become firemen at our age.
No, we don't want to be firemen in America. So we love getting emails from you, but if you're the people sending them, please stop it.
However, if you're a Nigerian prince, we're in.
We're in. Yeah, we're absolutely up for that. Dr. Squee, where can they find you?
Oh, well, I can be found on SW20 Radio, the new sound of South Wales, based in Southampton as I am. It's a long story. Anyway, the Dr. Squee Show this Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We've got a Valentine's special the day after Valentine's Day. But look, it's the day I go out, okay? And we got Cheryl Baker.
Is the day
just look up Dr. Squee everywhere. We're out there. And Cheryl Baker was lovely. I actually interviewed her before this tonight. Couldn't be more lovely. You're going to love that interview.
So, you may act as if you don't care less, but if you want to see some more, Google Dr. Squee. That was their song, wasn't it?
Yeah. They whipped the skirt off.
That was the one.
And she talks about that moment when they whipped the skirt off and how she's had to adapt her whole wardrobe now. Anyway, that's another story.
Iconic. So, if you want to hear that full interview, check out Dr. Squee. And thanks for trekking with us this time, and we'll see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Bye-bye.